welcome to part 2 of what no one's going to tell you about a transatlantic cruise. Hi, I'm Sarah, your unofficial Disney Cruise Line mom, and let's get right into it. Number 1, no one's going to tell you that they don't have all the gear on board if you forget anything on your transatlantic cruise. This includes things, at least for kids, including pants or socks. So pack accordingly. Definitely recommend packing some colder weather clothes. If you are an adult, you're probably going to be just fine. But if you're bringing little kids with you, bring a few extra things just in case. We had a situation with our 4-year-old where she ripped the one pair of pants we had for her on like day 2 or 3, and we had 6 days at sea in a row, I think. So it was quite a bind. We got through it, but just something to know that they carry a lot of things in the stores on the ship, but they don't carry everything. So if there's anything you have in question, bring it with you. I'm not saying to overpack, just pack a variety of things and make sure that long sleeve shirts and pants are some of those items. Next, no one's going to tell you that the port experiences are going to be a little bit underwhelming because this is a transatlantic cruise, a repositioning cruise, where the goal is to get from, one part of the world to another. And for these repositioning cruises, because that's the goal, you're not going to get a lot of time in ports. And that is really unfortunate because many of these ports are incredible places that deserve more time than just a few hours. We noticed this in the Azores where we were there. We had very limited time there. We had very little time in Portugal. It just wasn't right. As much as I loved the experience on the cruise, we did not get enough time in the ports and felt a little bit shafted by that. Because we were, these ports that you go to, some would say oh, they're just like ports. No. These are really incredible places. Cadiz, probably the most underrated city I've ever been to. If you want to check out my vlog on that, you can find it in my transatlantic vlog series. It is incredible. The Azores, unbelievable. I mean, there are so many, the destinations we went to, they just deserve more time. And it was unfortunate that they couldn't add, an extra sea day so that we could have spent more time in all of these cities. On that note, you're not even going to go to many ports because the whole purpose of this cruise is to get from point A to point B. So even though you've got 14 days total, you're only going to 4 ports maybe. So yeah, it's a bummer. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Next, there are restrictions in regards to a transatlantic cruise that are absolutely unavoidable and may limit your family from being able to take one of these cruises. And those restrictions include babies. You are not going to see any babies on a transatlantic cruise because there is an age requirement. You have to be 1 year old to be able to sail on a transatlantic cruise. Now, this is because babies are susceptible to so many illnesses and, we want to do what's best and protect our littlest ones, our most vulnerable, and so they are not allowed to join on this transatlantic adventure. Also, individuals that are pregnant, if you're past 24 weeks, you cannot sail on any cruise. So you will not be seeing many people in their third trimester. Is it second? In their second and third trimesters, you won't be seeing them on the ship because they are not allowed, which is great because again, we want to protect our pregnant folk and we want to protect our babies, so you cannot join this adventure. And finally, this is not a restriction, but just a best practice. Those with chronic health conditions probably should not go on a transatlantic cruise because you are going to be in the middle of the ocean for multiple days in a row. So if you want to go on a longer sailing, I recommend doing something like a Panama Canal where you are close to the coast if anything should come up. And if you have a medical issue on board, you can get the support you need faster and more efficiently than if you were in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Next, we talked about food in the previous video, but one thing I didn't mention is that if you are done with food, you want to do something different, it is not required to go to your sit-down dining. And so if you want to switch it up a bit, you are more than welcome to not go to your dining time and to do something different for dinner. This can be like eating on the pool deck or getting room service or doing specialty dining. There are options. It is all going to still be very Americanized, but there are some options for you. This is also when I would say take advantage of those port days and get some food in some of these other countries. We're not there for very long, but there is that opportunity to get some other types of food. Also, no one's going to tell you about the demographics of the transatlantic cruise and how that might be different than a 3 or 4 night sailing from like Port Canaveral or Miami. So, on a 3 or 4 night cruise from Miami or Port Canaveral or somewhere else, you're going to see tons of families. And on a transatlantic cruise, you will not be seeing tons of families. We discussed why that is because of the restrictions, but also knowing that this is happening during the school year and it's 2 weeks long. So, not everybody can get off for that amount of time or pull their kids out for that kind of amount of time for school. So, this means you're going to see many more retired individuals along with adults only cruising without children. Now, this is something to know, but this is also something to take note of if you are a family sailing with children. With less children on board, this means the pools are not going to be as crowded, the kids' clubs aren't going to be as crowded, and you're going to have more room to just kind of run around and do family activities, which when you're sailing like peak summertime, you may not have that same luxury. On the other hand, if you are adults only sailing, this is also something to take note that you're going to wait more for activities, or you may need to arrive early to certain events that you care about because there are more adults on board that may also care about those things too. For example, on the cooking classes that we had on our transatlantic cruise that were adults only, these lines started 2 hours in advance to the class. Children weren't even allowed. So that goes to show how many adults there were on the ship. There were other events that were happening that were adults only that were packed, that there were not even seats to be found, standing room only, because there were so many adults on this sailing. So just something to know. I think, ideally, like the best demographic, if you were to like figure out what kind of cruise you want to be on, if you have older elementary school kids, this might be the perfect sailing for you because there are so many opportunities to do lots of things as a family, as well as to have kind of free roam of the ship with not as many kids on board. On that note, there were so many extra events that were happening on the cruise, but they were all geared toward adults. Now, this is an incredible thing if you are adults only sailing without children, because this is rare. There's typically not these extra things happening, but if you have really little ones like we do, this can be a little bit challenging because those children are probably not going to be welcome. I mean, they are welcome in some of the events, but it's not really age appropriate for them. These things might include ballroom dancing or special speakers that might be coming on. They had like a hide and seek with the crew that was really fun, but not meant for like 3 or 4-year-olds. So there's just so many opportunities that if you are adults sailing without kids, it can be a really, really fun experience. But note that most people are adults sailing without kids, so it's going to be crowded. Also, there's a misconception that because it's a transatlantic cruise and there's less kids, that it's not going to feel full. But when you take out all of those children and replace them with adults, it can still feel very full because it's just adults. And so just something to know if you're thinking about going on a transatlantic cruise. Next, no one is going to tell you about the pricing and all the benefits that come with it. So typically speaking, a transatlantic cruise is going to be cheaper, same with any kind of repositioning cruise, than most other sailings that start and end at the same place. So if you are taking a cruise out of Port Canaveral and it ends in Port Canaveral, that cruise, a 7-night, or they don't really have any 14 nights, but that is going to be significantly more per night per person than a transatlantic cruise. And this has its benefits. I mean, the price alone is a benefit, but then there are more benefits on top of that because of all of the amenities that you are getting on the ship, whether that is the included dining, the included entertainment, and then they have like more events that are happening on the ship that are just extra. So all around, the pricing is just incredible. Some of the special events that were included were they had dueling pianos one night, there were Broadway stars on board, and then there are a lot of opportunities to like have formal nights and drinks with like the captains. I mean, there's just so many fun things that are happening on the ship that you just don't get on other sailings. Now let's talk about the ship itself. No one's going to tell you that you're not going to have that experience where you board and then like 3 days later it feels like you just unpacked and you're repacking again. No, because you are on a 14-night sailing, you're going to really learn the ship. And so what that means is you're going to unpack and you're going to relax and you're not going to feel pressured to do it all. So what that means is you're going to do a lot of things that you typically wouldn't get the chance to do on a typical sailing. You're going to get to take a nap if you want to. You're going to be able to stay up late and see the fireworks. You're going to be able to get up early and watch the sunrise. You're going to get to whale watch and do the obstacle course or whatever it is that you want to be doing. You can go on the run. Like, because you have so much time on the ship, you have time to do it all. I mean, you may not do it all because, still a lot to do, but you're going to get to do way more than you would on any other sailing. And so instead of it feeling a little bit rushed, you're going to get into your groove and really relax and settle and experience respite. And that is probably my favorite part about a transatlantic cruise, is just that uninterrupted, beautiful setting of the sea, like all the time, and just really getting to just relax. Finally, what no one's going to tell you about your room selection on a transatlantic cruise. Your room selection matters. Unlike any other cruise that's like a 3 or 4 night cruise, you're on the ship for 14 days. So where you sleep at night makes a difference. If you are all the way at the end of the hall and you don't like that, you're going to feel it because you're there for 2 weeks. Or if you have an inside room and really wanted a veranda, you're going to feel it. For us, was it a big deal? The part that was a big deal for our family was the fact that we had 2 rooms and they were not connected. And with 4 kids, we really needed those rooms connected. So for us, that was probably the biggest downfall of our room selection. And we tried to get things changed, but it just didn't work out. I would say that. And then also one of our staterooms had a slanted window, so you couldn't really see out of it. And that was just such a bummer. I would have much preferred to have an inside room with a magic porthole that is on the Fantasy and on the Dream. So if you're going to be on a different ship, sorry, they don't have the magic portholes. But on the Fantasy and on the Dream, they have these magic portholes on the inside staterooms where you get to see what's going on. So if there's whale watching, you can at least whale watch from that porthole, or have an ocean view stateroom or a veranda so that we could see outside. Now, do I have a preference between any of those? No. I just found that the slanted window was probably the worst case scenario. So all of that to say, this probably covers everything that no one's going to tell you about a transatlantic cruise. Maybe. Leave a comment below if there's something else no one told you about a transatlantic cruise. And subscribe if you like this video, and stay tuned for more content. Bye, y'all.